abandoned their art careers, believe it or not, pretty close to the age of 8, because a baby comes out of the womb and starts trying to discover this big, wild, crazy world, and has to learn how to talk, and then, of all things, has to learn how to read and write. Before a human, at least in the Western, I have no idea, India, China, Japan, I have no reference at all. But at least in the West, all children draw. Picasso is famous for saying all children are artists. Well, there's a very practical reason for that. And by the way, my wife and I have 4 grandchildren and their parents living with us for the last 2.5 years. Woohoo! And right now they're 3, 5, 7, and 9. So it's been really, really fun. We love it. We have a good time. They're looking for a house. They will be moving out. The day they move out, we'll cry and cheer. But it's really been fun for us to watch these levels. 3, 5, 7, 9. Think about it. When they moved in, they were 0, 2, 4, and 6. And to see the way these it's more miraculous the second time around than it was the first time. The first time I was all responsible daddy and had all the weight of the world on my shoulders. Now it's like, it'll be okay. It's a lot more fun being a grandfather. But it's really fun watching this develop. At age 8 is usually when a cross happens, when an intersection happens, a child's communication skills finally exceed their artistic skills. So at about age 8, they drop all pretense of being an artist, because now they can talk and read and write. Okay? Before that, all children are artists because reading, writing, and talking is hard. And again, having 4 grandchildren in the house, I can confirm that really is the case. So most adults dropped their art career at age 8, 3rd grade in America. Think about it. And most adults, they had hunches and impressions. All 8-year-olds, especially in a public school or hanging out with a lot of other kids, the kid, I'd say this in just first or second paragraph down, the kid who has the best, what I call filing cabinet, is the class artist. In other words, I was the class artist. Any of you, were you the class artist growing up? Okay. The kids, other kids would go, "Ooh, he's the artist." They would come to me and say, "Can you draw a blank? Elephant, squirrel, tank, gun, race car, boy, unicorn, girl, horse. Can you draw a horse? If you're a girl, did you draw horses?" Yeah. Okay. The girls, I don't know if it's still this way or not, but all the girls drew horses and all the boys drew race cars and guns. And so most people still suffer under the delusion that that's what an artist is. An artist is someone who can draw anything on demand. And so a lot of adults are wandering through life thinking, golly, I wish I could become an artist, but no, I can't do that because I can't draw an elephant on demand, or a horse, or a tank, or a mountain, or a tree, or you name it, okay? So most people are walking through life, not only are they not artistic, or not only can they not draw well, if they're standing here, they think the road to good drawing is this way. And again, they think that because of 3rd grade, if you will, where they abandoned their art career. When they were 8, this was the way to get good at drawing, was, can you draw a blank? Okay, so, and most adults still walk through that. I mean, I paint on the street a lot, so I'm interacting with people all the time. I paint at live events and festivals, and people are always coming up to me. I mean, always. If I had $1 for every time, thank you. And if you would, everybody, please do check that. I don't get paid if you don't check it. No pressure. Most adults think that the path to good artmanship is this way, and not only are they wrong, they're like diametrically wrong. I mean, they couldn't be more wrong. So many adults, if they don't study, they think, oh, I want to be an artist, and they start going down this path. They're actually going down the wrong path, okay? So part of what we're going to talk about tonight is like, we want to, with that tank I was talking about, we want to blow it up so we don't go down that path. All right, let's look at the outline here, and I'm going to skip over anything. Okay, so 7 habits of highly effective people. drawers, because that's the name of a famous book. I don't know if you recognize that, but then it turned into 8, and then it's like, did the outline, it's like, oh doggone, it turned into 9. And when I was tempted to do number 10, I said, to heck with it, we'll draw the line at 9. So it stepped it at 9. Okay, habit number 1, keep your SOS filing cabinet closed. And I know you can read this, but I'll read it and make comments as we go along. Our eyes are created to keep us alive by doing as little work as possible. And again, the evolutionary psychologists would concur with this completely, that we want to burn as little calories as possible because we don't know what our next meal is coming from. So not only our eyes, but our entire being, every muscle, every bone, every ear, eye, is all designed to not work, believe it or not. So that lazy streak that you have in you, like I have in me, is completely natural. So our eyes don't want to work. And our eyes, everybody here tonight is alive, proving that your eyes have done a bang-up job of keeping you from getting run over by a Mastodon or a Mack truck, okay? To that end, from the moment we were born, we start building an immense filing cabinet of, get this terminology here, okay, super simple survival-oriented symbols, which is actually SSSOS, but I have condensed that to SOS, okay, survival-oriented symbols, so that we don't, listen to this, so that we in fact don't need to look at stuff. One of the great amazing mysteries of the seeing life is that our eyes don't want to look at stuff. Now, I hope that you're going, that don't sound right. If you're thinking that, then you're paying attention. If you're just going, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say, then I'm going, nah, you're not paying attention. Our eyes want to keep us alive by doing as little work as, and that's why people can't draw. Because I don't say this here anywhere, but I say it all the time in my teaching. People can't draw very well, literally because they cannot see what their eyeballs are pointed at. And again, if you're saying, yeah, that's what I was going to say, you're not paying attention. That is audacious, ridiculous, almost stupid. But it's so literally true. I could spend an hour proving it to you, but we don't have that kind of time. People can't draw because they literally cannot see what their eyes are pointing at. Now let me step aside here for a second and make a caveat explanation. I'm assuming that all of you are, compared to the normal man on the street, you're way better artists than average. And some of you may say, no, not me. Okay, and that's okay. That's okay too. Those of you who are pretty good drawers already, I'm going to do you the service of describing yourself to you. You're going to find out tonight why you're good at drawing. Okay, and you're going to find out why, in most cases, your spouse is not. Now, here's 2 spouses here, so they is one of you the drawer? I'm getting Bob. I'm getting okay. People don't see what their eyes are pointed at, and again, this is what we're going to find out here in just a minute. These SOS images literally keep us from seeing what our eyeballs are pointed at. And here's the age 8. Up until about the age of 8, the kid in class with the best filing cabinet was the class artist. And I said, most people stop drawing at about age 8. Carry this misconception into adulthood. Now, if you would, page 2 there in front of you, just grab any old pen or pencil. I provided a piece of charcoal. You can use charcoal if you want, although it'd be a little bit hard to take notes. I just want you to prove to yourself that you actually know everything that I'm telling you. Wild guess, but I'll give you a hint. This is kind of a trick question, so be careful. How does a 3-year-old draw mommy? Anybody want to say?
A ball with streaks coming out.
There you go, very good. Not a stick figure. Look at the second box on your paper there. It is, how does a 6-year-old draw mommy? Oh, 6-year-old is doing stick figure. Yes, so Brenda, you got it right. So draw something like this. This is just to make sure. And where the hands, where the arms on this? Straight out of the side of the head. Yeah. Right? Now you're going, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I forgot about this age. Feet, right, straight here. Whoops, but if it's mommy, maybe she's wearing a dress or a skirt, maybe. Oh yeah, we didn't get to the hair yet. Okay, so there's mom. Now, how many of you recognize that? You've seen that before. What you don't remember is you drew that before, probably scores of times when you were 2 and 3 years old. Okay, next question. How does a 6-year-old draw mommy? I've already alluded to that. What's the answer? Stick figure. Okay, so again, just humor me. Draw something like this real quickly. Oh, here's a typical stick figure. Line and the legs, and now mommy's got 3 legs. Oh, well, no problem. That doesn't bother you too much if you're 6. Maybe you put a skirt on her, and again, she's, you can do better. But the basic idea is stick figure. And the only reason I bring this up is not too long after this stage. And again, I have children in my house. All of them draw. The 9-year-old boy, not quite as avid a drawer as he was 2 years ago. Why? Because he's a pretty darn good reader, right? So he's going to be a scientist and who knows what else, but probably not a full-time artist. The jury is still out on the next 3, okay? But this is roughly where most people abandon their art career. So when I'm out on the street painting and people are marveling and gawking or whatever at my painting, first of all, they say, ooh, like Bob Ross. To which I say, in his dreams. The other thing they say is, they say I can't draw a straight line, and they say I can't draw a stick figure. So in America, at least, the stick figure is like the standard by which. And it's people saying, I can't draw a stick figure. And what they really mean is, I can draw a stick figure, but that's all. And I want to point out that there's no shame, sure, first of all, there shouldn't be any shame anywhere in life, but no shame on not being able to draw. Again, you can become the president of IBM or, a nuclear scientist or a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon and not be able to do any better than a stick figure. You really can't, because it's your eyes are doing all kinds of really good things. All right? Now, let's just finish the exploration, because I want you to go, oh yeah, that's right, that's what we do. Tell me, how does an 8-year-old draw a house? You tell me. Yep, triangle on a square. What else? Windows. 2 of them. Door in the middle. And a chimney. How does a chimney go, by the way? 45-degree angle. That's right, exactly. Like this. And what's coming out of the chimney? Smoke. Okay, and where's the tree? What's the tree look like? Lollipop, basically. And where's the sun? In the corner, or either a ball or up in the corner. Either one will do with rays. All right. You all seen that before? Okay, please understand this is what I call SOS. Those are survival-oriented symbols. Let me take just a minute to describe this process really quickly, and you hope that I'll not take the right number of detours. So as I said, we have our youngest at home right now is 3, grandchild. And it wasn't that many months ago, a year ago, that he was just learning to walk and really just discovering his world. And like most people, we have a coffee table in our living room in front of our couch. And it's a very expensive coffee table made out of authentic pine. That's a joke. But even if it was made out of authentic oak, it would still be cheap, right? So it looks something like this. Have you seen a coffee table kind of like this? It's kind of a big, heavy thing. And actually, I did improve it a little bit a couple years ago, and I there's a name for it? Whited it, because it was kind of reddish. Whitewashed it, so it looks a lot better now, but it's still cheap. This is a coffee table that you put your feet on and spill drinks on while you're watching a football game, okay? Well, imagine our little 18, 19, 20-month-old little boy wandering around, as he did, toddling around, literally, and he bangs his head bonk on the corner of this coffee table. Well, what he does is he files away an image of the coffee table that is, I'm lying to you now, that is a lot like this. He makes a mental note. He says, watch out for that thing that's made out of pine, that has lines in the wood, and has legs turned kind of like this, and has a shadow, and so on and so on. Watch out for that thing. Okay, so am I telling you the truth? No. That is not what he files away. What does he file away? Corner. Yeah, exactly, corner. Either that, or that, or that, any one of those. Does that make sense? Let me stick with this subject of SOS just for another minute to make sure we really get the point, because in a minute I'm going to make the point that part of learning how to draw is learning how to slam the filing cabinet drawer shut. And whatever you do, do not let it open while you're trying to draw something. Most of us can't remember that age 3 or 2 or 3 where we're walking, waddling around our parents' living room, banging our head on whatever. But we can remember another stage in our life, at least some of us can, and that is learning how to drive. Does anybody remember? If you grew up on a farm, then you started driving a tractor at age 5, you don't count. But the rest of us who grew up in town, the first time we got behind the wheel was in driver's ed, right? Age 15. Anybody remember how it felt the first time, or nearly the first few times you're behind the wheel? It's like, oh, there's so much stimulus, there's so much stuff flying at you. It's like, I don't know what to look at. And I could go on and tell you how I failed my first driver's test, didn't get my license because I didn't see this little red, anyway, long time. You know, how could I miss something like a flashing red arrow? Well, the answer is because there was so much visual stimulus coming at me that I didn't know what to pay attention to. Contrast today, you guys drove down from Delaware. You were in more danger of falling asleep than you were of terror because you're hurtling down the freeway at 80 miles an hour, right? Think about it. This thing is heavy as that tank, keeps coming up, heavy as a tank going 80 miles an hour, and we are falling asleep. Why? Because everything, a mature driver, everything in your observation, everything in your field of vision is like, oh yeah, stripe, edge, traffic, cars, stoplight. It's like how are we doing that? SOS file, SOS file, SOS file. Is that making sense? Okay, so your eyes are doing a bang-up job of keeping you alive, but when it comes to becoming an artist, it's like, all of a sudden, all the rules change. All right, let's go on to habit number 2. So as artists, we spend our entire journey replacing or turning our SOS file into a reference file. It's very simple, but an awful lot of work. It's done by looking at stuff and drawing it. Okay, so if you embark on this artistic journey, you're going to spend by the way, I'm talking about representational art. Obviously, in a drawing class, we're not talking about abstract modern art, even though I do abstracts too. But that's not the subject. This is a drawing class where we're talking about drawing stuff: the squirrel, the tank. The pony, the gun, and hopefully things a little more mature than that. But we're talking about drawing stuff. Okay, exercise number 2. So here, again, look at this outline in front of you, and real quickly, using your filing cabinet, when you say the word nose, what comes to mind? Maybe that, Dick Tracy nose, or maybe... Yeah, right, maybe that. Or if you're a little more sophisticated, maybe something like that. Ooh, that's a pretty sophisticated, that's the 4th grader that's way ahead of the curve, But if your task and assignment and job is in fact to draw a nose, the second box there on your page under exercise number 2, the challenge is to not let the word nose escape from your filing cabinet. So you slam the filing cabinet closed. You don't let it open, because if it does, it'll fly all the way up to the letter N, and nose will fly up, and you'll have a hard time seeing what's in front of you. So, by the way, and we could keep on this theme for a long time. What does a good drawer do? He has a habit of not saying the name of the object that he or she is drawing. Why? Because as soon as you say the name of the object, especially if it's somewhat intricate or complex, if you're not good at it, so to speak, if you say the name of the thing, it flies up in your face and blinds you to what you're looking at. Does that make sense? So this is way ahead of where we're going, but just take a minute then. Again, don't say the word you know what. I'm not going to say it. Instead, look at what's in number 2 and take just a minute to draw it in the 3rd box there. Okay. Draw for 40 seconds. While you're doing that, I hope you can draw and listen at the same time. There will be many times during the class tonight where I'll tell you to draw something, At no point will this become a good drawing class, like how well can you draw, because I think the longest drawing you're going to do all night long might be 90 seconds. So you are allowed to say, after every time we do this, you are allowed to say either out loud or silently, I could have done a better job if you'd given me more time, okay? That is an acceptable excuse. All right, stop. So all I want to point out at this moment, the only point I want to make is real artists keep their filing cabinet slammed shut, and instead they say, we'll talk about this later, when looking at this picture of a thing that I'm not going to say, instead of saying, you know what, it starts with the letter N, they'll say things like, whatchamacallit, curve, this kind of curve, that kind of curve, triangle, trapezoid, rectangle, and so on and so on and so forth. Or it looks kind of like the Rock of Gibraltar, which is the proper use of the SOS file, which I'll get to that later. Okay, you can use your SOS file to make you a better artist, but you don't draw what's in your SOS file, you just use it to label other things. I'm getting ahead of myself, so let me stop right there. All right, number 3, we're doing 2 exercises right here in a row, but before we do number 3, I'll tell you what it is. Each of you has, and this is my best attempt, and it didn't go really well, but everyone, you all have one of these in front of you. This is supposed to be a drop of water. It's actually a drop of acrylic gel that didn't dry in 2 days. So I put it on a little heating pad, and then they cooked. It was real low heat, I promise, anyway. But in a minute, you're going to draw that. But before we do that, we're going to take a real quick detour. Oh, and I didn't get any of my stuff out. All right? The detour is real simple. You're going to draw the stuff that I put on this piece of foam core. You with me? I'm just going to dump it all out here like that. Okay, so get out your sketch pad, and for this you'll probably want to use one of your charcoal sticks, but you don't need to. Oh, I get it. This glue stick is purple till it dries. That'll be interesting. All right. I'm going to be a little bit mean for the next several minutes because I'm going to tell you to do things with abysmally inadequate information. The reason I'm being mean is because it's the quickest point from here to progress. Okay, draw this or something like that with your charcoal or with your pencil. Either one. Don't take a lot of time. The test is, can you draw a black dot? Or something like that, okay? Now, you draw this. You can use the black dot if you want to draw that. You could call it a black line, I suppose. Okay, so far so good. This is really stupid. What is he doing? Okay, bear with me. Here we go. Getting just a tiny bit more complicated. And I'm going to take the liberty of covering up that line with that. What would you call that, maybe? Okay, draw that.
On top of the line.
Yeah, you can incorporate the line if you want to, or go to clean paste on the page, doesn't matter. All right, at this point, if I had given you more time, you could have done a better job. Okay? All right. I'm going to take a wild guess again, and you are more than welcome to say to me, well, if you'd given me more time, I would have done that. But some of you, the more time wouldn't have helped any because we're about to go into a region. Most of you probably drew something like that. Did anybody say, well, if I had more time, I really would make this solid black? Like that. Do you see the difference? Okay, some of you went, no, I'd never thought of that. Okay, good. I'm being mean. You should have thought of that. That's way meaner than necessary. All right, ready? So now you're on your toes. You're on your toes a little bit. It's like, oh, wait a minute. This could get tricky. Yes, it could. Next step, and again, I'm using this purple glue stick. Whoops. I've got an eraser around. Draw that without my, there we go. What might one call that? Okay, draw that. I'll give you about 20 or 30 seconds. This is all a mental exercise. It's not, strictly speaking, not a drawing exercise. It's a mental exercise. It will begin to make sense in a few minutes. Right now you're thinking, I spent how much money for this class? All right, stop. Let me walk around and look. Pretty good, you're ahead of average. A little bit. I said draw this. Most of you drew something more like this. What's the difference? Outline. There's no outline on that gray square. All right, now, okay, the curve is getting steeper, right? So wait a minute, that side's being tricky. I told you I was being mean. But, all right, you ready for next level? Whoops, I keep smudging stuff with charcoal fingerprints. That is not part of the assignment. All right, draw that. Ooh, what might one call that? Good, raised, good idea. Raised white square, white on white. Okay, can everybody see something here? You can see it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, how are you going to draw that?
Shadow, just the shadow.
It's almost all the shadow now. Is it only a shadow? My guess is not. No, there's more than a shadow. What's on top?
Edge.
What color edge? Lighter or darker? Uh-oh. And there you have your white charcoal ready. No, you don't. So how are you going to render this? Oh, wait, this is getting way more
I
complex.
faked it with this.
That,
Stand-in, so like,
that's right.
give me enough time.
That's right. Very good, Bob. How are you going to make that light strip at the top lighter than everything else? By making the background darker. Okay, so if I gave you more time, we could spend an hour and a half now perfectly with charcoal. And that blender that I gave you, oh, by the way, you can use that blender. Huh, why didn't you? Okay, sorry. I should have said that earlier. But you can, okay, are you ready for a little bit more difficult?
Sure.
Yeah. Now, at some point here, we are, all right. Can you see that? Can everybody see that? Let me give you a hint, a tip. At this point, one part of your brain should be talking to the other part of your brain, because the artistic part, let me tell you what the drawing side of your brain is doing, probably, if you're normal. If you're normal, the drawing part of your brain is going, but the analytical, the other side of your brain is going, now, let's hold this together. If you can see something, then you're seeing something. Oh, this is so brilliant. If you can see something, then you're seeing something. And the question is, what is it that you're seeing? Does anybody want to venture a few answers? What is it that you're seeing, Nancy?
I'm seeing an L, an upside down, well, an L that's the
Backwards.
long one, and the short one's going.
And understand that she's seeing it, so everybody's seeing something different, but that's very good. She compared it to something we understand, something from our SOS file, the letter L, okay? What else? And I'm not looking at it. Is there a light area in this? So if we really took, and it would take, it would take an hour of really good work with charcoal and a blender and an eraser and erase. By the way, feel free to use an eraser. Has anybody used your eraser yet in this drawing? You may. Okay? I hardly care that you draw this. Anybody particularly proud of what you just drew? Yeah, exactly. All right. Now, in a minute, I am gonna push you just a little bit harder. Now, I have several options here. Let's see. Okay, let's go to this, it just got easier. It just got easier, not harder, unless I go like this. Okay, are you getting some glare? Good. How are you going to draw that? How are you going to draw that? By the way, all right, that's enough of that. Forget that. Now, I'm going to give you an assignment. I want you to look at this fake drop of water that's in front of you. And you can do this on your little handout if you want, but it probably would be easier if you do it on a piece of real sketch paper. Because I would like you to blow this thing up to maybe, the size of a $50, roughly speaking. I would like you to set this in front of you on the table so that you're seeing it from an oblique angle. And this time, I do want you to take just a little bit longer. Use a blender. You can use a pencil if you want to, but charcoal or pencil, blender and eraser. Try to do this in like 2 minutes. Ready, set, go. Okay? Some of you are you with me? Are you with the program? First of all, number one challenge is there are highlights on this drop of acrylic gel, right? That means that the color of your drawing paper needs to be pushed down, I will say, darkened, so that there's room for highlights. Are you processing that way? Are you thinking, oh yeah, that's right? So can this drawing be done? Well, in the last several that we did with the white paper, white on white and white on white, can that be done with a pencil that writes black? Well, it can, but not handled in the traditional third grade manner, right? So take just a minute. I'm going to talk just a little bit while you're drawing. See, one of the things that we have just done in the last 10 minutes, however long we've been doing this silly exercise, one of the things that I have done to you is I have asked you to draw things that are not in your filing cabinet. At least most of you do not have a drop of water or fake drop of water, drop of acrylic gel on white shiny paper. By the way, let me ask you, are any of you, when you looked at this drop of water, is the shininess of the paper a factor in your drawing? It might be, depending on I'd have to look at it from your angle, but that's part of the exercise. Okay, just 30 more seconds. Then we'll stop, pause, regroup. I want to make sure that you understand a couple of reasons why we just did that and are doing this rather strange exercise. Okay, 10 seconds. Anybody want to say, if you had given me more time, good job. If you had given me more time, I would have done a better job? Does anybody not want to say that? Good. Good. Oh, good. You drew the whole paper. Good job. All right. Thank you very much. Now, let's review a couple of things really quickly. First of all, we sort of had to do this exercise with the gray square and the gray square without the and the white on white, so that you break through into a new level of, because everything we're doing tonight is going to be done with either pencil or charcoal, black. And so in the rest of the class, if you have to draw something light, then you know that you have to, in a sense, gray the whole area and then blend and lift out with an eraser or something like that. Does that make sense? So if you will, we just took, there's no third grader in the world that doesn't, maybe there is, but all third graders use a pencil to make black lines. Okay? And I've just introduced you, I'm sorry, I'm insulting your intelligence. You already knew this, but I reminded you, like, oh yeah, that's right, pencils. With pencils, we can actually do gradations of gray from black to almost white and everything in between. All right, we done? The other thing we did is we did some drawings where your filing cabinet was of no use whatsoever. Does anybody have in your filing cabinet, oh yeah, gray square on gray, white square on white paper, no you don't. If you said yes, I said that's not a filing cabinet, you're actually such a sophisticated artist that you've done it before and now it's a reference file. Okay? Do you understand the difference between SOS file and reference file? SOS is super simple survival-oriented symbols like we went through a few minutes ago. Reference file is you jump from like coffee table that's just whatever, a line with two legs or whatever, to a coffee table kind of like I drew, which is reference file. I know what a pine coffee table looks like because I've looked at it and drawn it. That's the secret. All right? Let's keep going then. Let me find my outline. We are down to all the way to habit number 3. Time flies when you're having fun. All right, habit number 3. People who are good drawers control their eyeballs and hold them still. Now, I've already alluded to this one time, but I just want to make really clear. Your eyeballs keep you alive mostly by flitting from here to there. Any horse people here? I'm not a horse people, but I've, like ridden horses and have friends who are horse people. Horses' eyes, especially when they're nervous, they're always going like this. Imagine the deer by the side of the road. Imagine that little fish at the end of Finding Nemo when he's going, and then he gobbles, Anyway, the idea is, in nature, this is what eyes do. And this is, in fact, what your eyes do to keep you alive. All of a sudden, when we say, by golly, I'm going to become an artist, we're going against however many decades you've been alive. We're slamming on the brakes saying, all right, now eyeballs, we're going to do something we're not used to doing. And we're going to do an exercise right now to help you feel what it feels like when your eyes are not doing their natural thing, wiggling. Okay, so sketchbook again. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead, and I brought with me just to show you what a lapboard looks like. This is the world's cheapest easel, and if you want to be a drawer or if you want to be a kitchen table painter, invest, $7.99 or whatever. I'm sure you get them cheap here this weekend in one of these. Do you understand how it works, right? Let me grab a chair. I want a chair up here anyway. Now, I say it's the world's cheapest. Actually, there is one cheaper than this. That is, instead, you can go to Office Depot or whatever and buy a clipboard. And if you really want to spend the big bucks, $2.99, you can get a legal size clipboard. You follow me? So it's 14 inches long instead of 8.5 by 11. And then you sit down like this and you prop this up and boom. Now, later on this evening, I am going to force you to do this. But if you can, with the sketch pad that you have in front of you tonight, some of yours are not stiff enough, but see if you can. If you can get it to point at your eyes, I'm jumping ahead to stuff we're going to cover later. But because you're going to do a contour drawing right now, this will actually help quite a bit. Now let me just point out to you that simple, there's several things tonight. I can make you a better artist in 5 seconds. This is one of those. Don't do that, do that, and you're about a 20% better art. 20%, listen to me. That is outrageous. In 5 seconds, I can make you 20. I joke. I do solemnly swear that I will never draw with a plane pointed at the ceiling ever again. So help me God. Amen. All right. So this makes you a better artist. All right? So you don't have to believe me or do what I say, but if you want to be a better artist, you'll do it. Okay? Now, there's a reason why, there's a bit of a tangent, but there's a reason why when you look at one of these really highfalutin art schools called the Atelier, anybody know that term? Highfalutin, highbrow, serious, not the stupid abstract expressionist stuff they teach us in college. And I like abstracts and do them, by the way, but I don't like abstract expressionism. That's another rant that I give. If you like my rants, just follow me on YouTube, not Facebook, YouTube, because I give them all the time. Don't I? there's 16 people watching right now. So, by the way, in case I forget to say, YouTube, if you can remember my name, anybody? Who was that guy? Dan Nelson. That's all you need. YouTube, Dan Nelson. I'm the second most famous Dan Nelson in America. The first most is a lead singer for some heavy metal group called Anthrax. There you go. So you just say, I'm not him, you can find me. Okay, just go to YouTube and Dan Nelson, and he's an artist. Don't do Dan Nelson plumber, you won't find me. But if you do Dan Nelson artist, you can find me. So that's all you need to find me on YouTube. What was I going to say? Okay, that's good enough. Let's draw then. You're going to do a contour drawing. Pardon? Oh, atelier. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. In all ateliers, always, all the students are standing up at easels. That is not a mistake. They are not sitting drawing like this. This is how bad drawers and non-drawers and non-artists draw. Okay? Now, you will find all kinds of screwy people on YouTube doing every kind of god-awful thing in the world that I rant against all the time. That's not what you want to do. You don't want to, this is now we all did it, probably, didn't we? I mean, I did it all the way through high school, college, and grad school, taking notes. But that is not how you be a good drawer. So this makes you much better. This makes you even better. Your energy flows better through your body when you're standing up. Till your legs get so sore that you can't stand up anymore. All right. You're going to draw me, and you're going to do contour drawing. Has anybody here got an art degree or art classes? Do you take some art? Do you know what a contour drawing is? Okay. I would like to hear from you. How does the class respond when the professor says, all right, contour drawing? I'll tell you. I'll tell you how the class responds. Oh, it's universal. Why? Because this is not comfortable. Say, first of all, what I'm going to ask you to do right now, it's not comfortable. I'm going to describe for you a real contour drawing, and that means a blind contour drawing. That means you're going to draw without looking at the paper at all. So first of all, no pressure. There's no pressure on you to do a good drawing. How can you be expected to do a good drawing when you can't look at your paper? Okay, so I just want to go, oh, well, I can do a bad drawing. Okay, first of all, no pressure. Secondly, you're going to be drawing me because I'm the most interesting thing in the room besides all of you all. Is this making sense? Because if I said, let's do a contour drawing of this wall, that'd be rather boring. So you're going to draw me. And I'm going to be looking at you, and I want to tell you, I'll be looking at you, and if your head goes like this, I will catch you, and I will point you out. I do this a lot. I've taught this class a lot. I will call you, I don't know, I won't remember your name, but I'll say, you looked. Now, if you do cheat and look, just get back on the wagon. Hey, my name is Dan Nelson, and I cheated at blank contour. All right, so just get back on the wagon and continue again from there. So here's the way it goes. You're going to look at me, and this is going to last about, I don't know, 2.5 minutes, painfully long. You're going to look at me and pick any part of my anatomy whatsoever, and let's say you start at the top of my head and you go this way around the contour. You're going to make your eye move roughly this slowly. You get to my ear and you go out, whatever, you guys can't see my ear, and whatever. And if you want to draw an eye, a nose, or a mouth, you don't pick up. You keep your pencil on the paper 100% of the time, kind of like Etch-a-Sketch, okay? So you have little connector lines, right? Are you getting the idea? So while you're moving, your eye is moving slowly, your hand moves at the same speed. Now, I think it might help if I did one for you really, 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 really quickly. Okay, so, I'm sorry, your name again? Brenda. Thank you. So I'm going to look at Brenda, not look at I'm starting with her spiky hair. I like your hair, Brenda. And I'm not going to do very much because I don't want to waste your time, but I'm doing the side of her head. Okay, and then I guess I'll go back up along her temple, a little bit of her bangs off to the side. Now you can already, no pressure for doing a bad job. Whoops. Now down the other side of her face, and I'll go down her jawline. I'm going a little bit faster than I would like so I don't bore you to tears. Chin. So again, it could be worse. Two things. Your eye moves slowly, crawls, walks along the edge. That's the main purpose of this exercise. Your eyes for your whole life, unless you've been doing an art project, have been flitting. For the next 2.5 minutes, it's going to be a flit-free zone. No flitting. Force your eyes to walk slowly, pedantically, painstakingly along whatever, and your pencil to go at the same speed. Ready? Don't look. Okay, go. There should be some music, some really sad music playing. If you're drawing my mouth, I'm messing you up by talking. I could try ventriloquism. Okay, crawl slowly. This is not a race. You do not have to finish me. That's out of the question. You're not going to finish me. I want you to feel how it feels to do a contour drawing. And I say here on the outline, if this doesn't feel uncomfortable, you're probably not doing it right. Does that make sense? Will you buy that? If you're going, oh, well, I mean, I suppose there's kind of like a Zen kind of thing to it, isn't it? Like, oh, this is so relaxing. I could do this for an hour. Again, no pressure to do a good job because you're not even looking at your paper. So how can anybody expect a good drawing? Let me ask again. How many of you just yell? How many of you have done contour drawing before? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many of you have seen contour drawing? Yeah. Typically, if you walk into, somebody just looked. You fell off the page. That's good. That's honest. That means you really weren't looking because you went off the page. That's good. Okay, let's focus. Eyes moving, crawling slowly. And my apologies again if you're drawing my mouth, but eyes crawling and your pencil crawling at the same speed. All right, have you had enough? Probably. All right, good. So tell me. Yeah, good. All right. All these. By the way, I was going to say, if you go to a high school art show, even a college art show, very often you'll see that, like school hallway kind of thing. You'll see some of these. Because frankly, they have a certain charm about them. They really do. This is a great example. This is a great contour drawing. And it's so, I mean, once you've seen one, they all look the same, so to speak, and they're a lot of fun. All right, so did you succeed? Was that uncomfortable? Okay, there's some other words I'll just throw at you real quickly. I did a video several years ago with Jerry's, and I tried to describe this. I said, when you're an artist, you zero in. Zero in. So, mnemonic device just kept saying zero in. Zero in. That is what your non-artist friends don't do, and it wouldn't be half dishonest to say they cannot do that. Your non-artist, non-drawing friends, they cannot hold their eyes still. But that is what an artist does. Another phrase I say, stop, stare, and keep it there. Stop, stare, and keep it there. Do you understand that most human beings go through maybe their whole life and actually never do that? And again, they can become rocket scientists and president of who knows what and perfectly capable human beings. Not everybody's supposed to be an artist, right? In fact, frankly, those of us who are artists are a little bit weird. Because this is not what most people do with their eyeballs. Does that make sense? Right, so I just want you to grab a hold of that feeling that you had and say, oh, if nothing else, there was that one time in my life when I was making my eyes behave like an artist. And again, I think all of you are pretty high on the artistic scale, so you actually have done that before. All right, you doing okay? We're all the way down to number what? Number 5. Oh, no, we're number 4. We did exercise number 4. Now, habit number 4. This is really important. How many times am I going to say that tonight? If you don't hear anything else, hear ye this. The reason that some people can draw well where most people cannot draw well, this is the dividing line right here. Non-drawers, bad drawers, people that are not good at drawing, they don't know how to engage both sides of their brains. I'm going to describe that to you, then we're going to do an exercise to try to do it. The habit is get both sides of your brain engaged in the seeing process. Okay? When you're looking at a complex set of shapes, but I just mean by that, when you're looking at something that's difficult, whether it's architecture or biology or a landscape or a still life, like your first, by the way, if your first impression when you look at anything as an artist, still life, a rose, whatever, your first impression is like, how am I going to do this? Then I'm not sure you're an artist. I'm a full-time artist, have been an artist my whole life. I still, when I set up my easel on the street, I glance and go, oh my gosh, how am I going to draw that? Okay, I just want you to know that's how it feels, okay? That's normal. But to get over it, this number 4 is what I do. When you're looking at a complex set of shapes, you must name those shapes or you'll not be able to reproduce them. This is the chief difference between good drawers and not so good ones. Good artists employ the left side of their brains when seeing. Bad drawers do not. Now let me act this out for you just for a minute so you can kind of get the idea. And I'm going to try to act out the way I and you, all of us, have felt at various stages in our life. Now let's say I'm going to do a drawing of Cindy. Okay? I look at Cindy and I say, oh, I'm going to draw her. Already I'm getting that, golly, where do I start? Right? Too much visual information, right? Because human beings are very complex visual creatures, and we're very fussy about drawing. So let's say I'm going to start with her nose. First of all, what's one word I'm not going to allow out of my mouth? No. That's right. So I'm not going to say nose. So I'm going to say things like that thing in the middle of your face. And I look and look and look and look and look and look and look. And then I'll do this in slow motion. Then I turn my gaze from Cindy to my white page, and guess what? I lost it. Well, I just spent 10 seconds. Okay, let's do it. Look again. Thank you, Cindy. My face is just a reflection of my mental state. And again, got it. Okay, I got it now. I got it now. Doggone it. Okay, let me describe. Can you identify with that feeling? If you're honest, I hope you will say, yeah, that's okay. So what is missing there? What is missing is when I or you are looking at a complex shape. We're looking, and again, I know just enough to be dangerous. I know. Are there any neuro expert brain? Heck, there are sometimes. Who knows? You never know what gets into my classes. Okay, but I know left brain and right brain in the common vernacular. That's the way I'm going to talk. I know enough to know that it ain't all that simple, but it still makes it very good. There's some truth to it, and it makes it easy enough to talk about. What is happening is that I'm looking at Cindy's nose with the right side of my brain. Now, this is not, by the way, against Betty Edwards drawing on the right side of your brain. Everything she says is really good, but this is sort of on a different track, so don't confuse the two. I like her book, but that's not what I'm talking about. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, famous book. What is happening is I'm looking at Cindy's nose from the right side of my brain, the intuitive, perceptive, global, non-linguistic, that's a key word, non-analytical, non-mathematical side of my brain. That's what I'm looking at, because that's the side of your brain that does most of the perceiving. I'm just absorbing, but it's all coming. See, my right brain, again, to exaggerate, just to make the point, my right brain doesn't have any words because my right brain doesn't talk. Only my left brain talks. My left brain makes up language and lists and categories and analysis and measurements and scientific details. Does that make sense to you? Your right brain is like, whoa, kind of like a hippie. Whoa, groovy, dude. Hippies were people who lived 50 years ago, yeah. Some of us are still alive, but the right brain, it doesn't have any words. It just says, wow. I say it backwards, wow. Okay? And that will not get an image onto your paper. Instead, when you're looking, you have to say, okay, right brain is doing all the work, looking, absorbing, and then you have to go, left brain, get over here, help me out here, I need some language. And it's not until you name the name that you can go. So let me look at Cindy again. This time, okay, so my right brain is seeing, and I go, left brain, come over here, I need your help. Okay. It's a little bit like a slide on a playground when we were kids. The ladder goes up at one angle. By the way, what I'm doing right here, now this won't work for you unless you have the same slide in your SOS file. Why did I say slide? This is now the proper use of the SOS file. You can use it to compare things to. Does that make sense? So let me just take a second and show you. Here's what I remember about the slide. Now, it doesn't matter whether I'm actually technically correct. It doesn't matter. The fact is that's what's in my SOS file, and I can reproduce this 1,000 times a day and get pretty darn close with every single one. So when I'm looking at Cindy's, her right nostril, the one that's on my left, I'm going, this slope of her nostril goes up like the ladder going up, and the other side, so believe it or not, here's her nose. This is how large we're talking at the moment, okay? Just to give you some idea. Now, normally we wouldn't do a portrait quite that big, but does that make sense? Let's see what exercise we have. Oh yeah, exercise number 5. Are you ready? Bottom of this page. Now, you're really not going to draw here. I just want you to talk to me. This is a picture of a garbage bag in the sun in my driveway yesterday afternoon. Okay? Took a picture, put it in Photoshop, stretched it, tweaked it, did whatever, eliminated the background. We could spend hours, if that was the assignment, and if you were a college student, that might indeed be the assignment. I want you to spend the next 2 hours in, art lab, in art studio class. I want you to draw this with no cheating, no grid, no measure, no, just look and copy, okay? The way that you would, so would you agree that that's a complex set of shapes? All right. So what I want you to do is show me that you're getting this by starting to label or name shapes that you see in that photograph of a garbage bag, right?
But not other objects.
You go, good. There's 2 things you can name it. You can say triangle. You can use geometric terms. I see arc, curve, triangle, rectangle, trapezoid, parallelogram.
Like an alligator.
That's correct. That is the correct use of your SOS file. You can say it looks like the Rock of Gibraltar, looks like a garbage can, looks like anything. Yes. And generally speaking, those are better than the geometric ones, unless the geometric is just a dead ringer. Like, oh, here's a perfect triangle. All right, go. Let's see if we can help each other here. Tell me what you're seeing. Just yell. Go ahead, Nancy.
I'm seeing over here I'm seeing a salmon during the time when it goes upstream.
Okay.
Because its nose goes down.
Oh, good. Excellent. Very good. And you understand, that only works for Nancy because she's got the salmon in her SOS file. Now, the rest of us go, oh, yeah, most often go, oh, yeah, I can see that too because I have a bit of a salmon in my SOS. It might not be as good as hers, but it's good enough. All right. Go ahead. Somebody else who's talking over here.
There's a triangle right in the top there.
Oh, yeah, a little tiny triangle right at the top. Very good. How about, let's stay with that, Marcia, for just a minute. It's a triangle. Now, let's modify that. It is a triangle. At what angle?
At what angle?
Is the bottom of the triangle perfectly horizontal?
No, it isn't. It's slanted diagonal.
And can you come up with a name for that slant? It reminds me of anything? Okay, we'll come back to that later. You will. In an hour, you'll have the answer to that question. Anybody else?
Letter D.
Where is it?
I see it in two places. One is the little,
This thing up here?
that thing up there.
Yeah,
And then
the
the
let-
dark shadow to the right.
Oh, good. All right, 2 Ds. Right, excellent. Likewise, Cindy, let's take the first one of those. So do you see Cindy's D right here? D, that helps. Now, can you describe the angle? Is there anything in your SOS file that goes at that angle? There may not be. Which one? This one right here.
She says that as a D.
Yeah. The letter D. Say that again? Which arc? No. What is the angle of the straight part of the D?
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. There you go. We're getting ahead of us. Okay, very good. Give me some more.
There's a white zigzag with a black triangle under it. Right down here.
A white zigzag, like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Is it this right here? Are we seeing the same thing? Kind of like the Zeus cartoon lightning bolt. That's a good shape. Very good.
I got a snake getting ready to bite something.
That's good. That's good. Let me tell you that the more specifically you can describe your shape, the better. And sometimes if it's a weird, scary shape or dramatic shape, dare I say sexy shape, we won't go there. But those are really good because they really lock into your mind. Once you name the shape, then let me go back to my slow motion looking at Cindy's nose. Once I look and name it, then I can take kind of like all the time in the world because I've come up with a good label, a good name, and now I go to my blank canvas or my blank paper and say, easy, I reproduce it. Is this making sense? I believe this is really what's the word? The key, the big secret. This is what good drawers do. This is what bad drawers do not do so well. Now, let me describe to you what happens if this was a semester-long class and you all learn this, next week you come back and say, now we're going to do it, and we're going to take an hour and a half to draw this garbage bag. Here's what would happen. You'd start off great. You do it for the first 5, 10, 15 shapes. And after a while, you'd go, oh, what the heck, I'm getting tired, that's enough. And then you start drawing back to your old-fashioned way, right brain only. Does that make sense? And then you go off. This is what I see I have taught thousands of people painting classes and drawing classes. This is what I see in virtually every painting class. The student will start out all gung-ho and being kind of mentally tough and doing the hard work of naming angles and naming shapes. And then after a while, after lunch, it's like, and then let's say we're doing a house. And that's where the porch, at 1:30, I'm going, what in the world? Now, I have a really good teacher poker face. I can say, that's really nice, Josephine. Now let's see. Inside I'm going, what in the world are you looking at? So don't take any more classes because now you know that my dirty secret. But that's where I've got a porch in at 1:30 where Josephine's got this porch going like this. I go, well, the answer is because Josephine got tired of doing all this work. Having gone that far, you could say to me, well, do you do that? And the answer is yes, absolutely I do. As you can imagine, I do it so quickly and so intuitively, so second nature, that it's like boom, 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 boom. But the difference between my boom, boom and someone who's not good at drawing is they're not naming it. To me, it's like the language is almost subconscious. It's like shape, 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 shape. But someone who's not a good drawer is not seeing shape. They're just going, and then Josephine puts a mark, on the porch of her house. It is just like, I'm going, where'd that come from? Yes, Nancy?
Does this help you from getting lost while you're...
Absolutely. But it's mental work. Absolutely, it does help you from getting lost. Absolutely. All right, now, number 6 is sort of a corollary to, number 5 is a corollary to number 4. So, sorry, let's go on to habit number 4. We've been going an hour and 10 minutes, so I'm really trying to keep an eye on the clock. Number 5, are you with me? Let's take a deep breath. This teacher is rather hysterical, not in the funny sense of the word. All right, number 5. Prioritize the seeing and naming of shapes. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to that garbage bag. We had to nail down step 4 before we could do step 5, but now we're going to go back and do it again. Let me finish reading habit number 5. You can't see everything all at once. You just can't. So you must proceed from, and see this little box right here? It's the only thing on the whole page, it's in a box. You must proceed from simple to complex, large to small, and geometric or straight to curve. Let me take that last one just for a second and point out now. Really, when I say simple to complex, I'm really saying the same, repeating the same thing 3 different ways. Simple to complex, large to small, which means simple to complex, and straight to curved, which means simple to complex. You with me? But let me demonstrate this last one for a minute. If the assignment was, all right, I'm going to draw a curve, and I want you all to reproduce it on your sketch pad perfectly. This would not be an unreasonable assignment if I were to give you an hour and a half. You could burn up all of that time. Because what would happen? You draw it, and then you go, that ain't right. You draw it and say, whoops, this part's right, but there's something wrong here. Maybe it goes like, and you get out your eraser and you redraw it, and then, oh, darn, now that's not right again. Are you with me? And you erase it, and you say, and you do another part and say, okay, I think that part's right. But look, this part intersects, that's not right. Are you familiar with that process? Okay, if not, you really are not an artist. we all artists know how to screw up. That's part of what being an artist is all about. Okay? So if I were to tell you to reproduce that curve, again, you could be gainfully employed for easily an hour trying to accomplish that hard fact. If, on the other hand, and I wish I had another color of drawing, maybe I do. Hang on, just a second. I do. Good. Yeah, that's exactly. Let's see if this will work. If, on the other hand, I drew something like this. Now, here's what I can't do on this piece of paper. But can you see, you can, that the brown line roughly corresponds to the curvy line, right? Now, here's what I'm going to ask you to do, which I want you to make the curve disappear. So you only see the brown. Can you just try to do that mentally? The point I want to make is if I drew the straight lines that are in brown and said, okay, reproduce that, I would be a really bad professor if I were to say, okay, take an hour and a half to do that, because you go, it's not going to take that long. I mean, I'll nail this puppy in 10 minutes, maybe 15. Do you hear the difference? The curvy line, and anybody here a math arithmetic person? Just think about it as an XY, what's the word, a formula. This curved line, well, depends how specific you want to get. How many XY points are to plot that curve? Thousands, millions, billions, trillions, just how specific you want to get, right? Whereas to plot the straight lines on an XY axis, it's easy. You've only got like however many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 numbers, XY numbers. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about, but some of you are going, I think I learned this in 10th grade. You got 13 numbers to plot it. And do you understand then that if I drew just the squares first, the straight lines first, and said, now simply round off all the corners. Does that make sense? You could reproduce this black curve pretty darn close in a fraction of the time. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's just one specific example of why you start out geometric straight lines and then curve it up. All right? But let's do, go back to, let me make sure I'm doing the exercises right. Yeah, let's now go back to the garbage bag. We've already, our old friend by this time, we're already good at looking at it. And all of you did a great job of falling into my trap. That's just me being mean, but in order to make the point. If you name small shapes, which are much easier to identify and designate, that's good, but it will not help you reproduce. Again, if I gave you 2 hours to draw perfectly this garbage bag, 2 hours is not too much time. Are you with me? Are you thinking with me? Yeah, and like you're going to blow it up, so you can see the stuff. And no cheating, no drawing, no gridding, no tracing, anything like that, okay? So you do not start with the small shapes, you start with the biggest shapes. Look at this garbage bag again, and now give me some of the biggest shapes that you can see. Well, let's see how we're doing with this. Where's a big triangle? Almost. Oh yeah, like right there? That's almost an equilateral triangle. By the way, okay, let's stick with that just for a minute. By the way, we're looking for even bigger shapes than that. But this is such a beauty. Let's take, does everybody see the equilateral triangle? Equilateral means equal. It's almost an equilateral triangle. Modify that for us a little bit. Again, just as more of that name it and claim it. How to be a good drawer. Name it before you can claim it. It's an equilateral triangle, but what?
One end's cut off.
Yeah, one end's cut off. What else? More. There's, the bottom is curved a little bit. And Marcia, can you describe the curve? Compare it to anything, or?
Actually makes another triangle.
Okay, good. That's a good descriptor. Good. More of the same. Anybody? Somebody who hasn't said anything yet tonight.
So we don't talk about the shadows yet.
We will.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now, we're taking a little detour. I said big shapes. You picked a medium-sized shape. Okay, but it was such a good one to talk about. One of the things that strikes me the most is an equilateral triangle, but the right side is almost a perfect arc. It's not straight at all. It's an arc. And then I would be pressed to try to describe exactly what kind of arc. Going back to my filing cabinet, it's kind of like a green bean, snap bean. Okay? I mean, arcs are, if it's an arc, all arcs are arc, but I'm comparing the length of it to the curve of it, and to me it looks kind of like a green bean. Okay, now let's back up to the question, biggest shape you can see. This one over here? The answer is the whole thing. Okay, say that again.
Looks like a mountain with a lump out of the top.
Okay, that's a good start. A mountain with a lump out of the top. Want to help us with a lump? How about
Lump looks like a ginkgo leaf.
there? And I have no idea what a dingo leaf is. That's perfect, because you have a dingo leaf in your SOS file.
Ginkgo.
Ginkgo. Right? Good. What else? Anybody else?
Well, I think that what she called a D, I see that as a leaf.
Yep. Sure. But that's still too small. Let's talk about the overall shape. And I'm going to help you out here in a minute.
I see the thing protruding forward, minus the leaf, as an eggplant.
The whole thing is an eggplant?
The
Oh.
part coming forward.
I got you. The part coming forward. Very good. That is like an eggplant. Very good. Does everybody see that? I have good enough eggplant in my SOS file that makes sense for me. That's still too small.
To me, the whole thing looks like a dead giraffe. From the neck, it's just like lying on the ground. There's its ears kind of flopped over. You can even see a nostril there.
Oh, wait. This is a dead giraffe's head. Not as...
From the neck, like there's the neck and there's the head.
There we go. All right. There we go. So I'm drawing this upside down. Very good, Bob. Can everybody kind of see that as a dead giraffe? Am I close? Now we're getting somewhere. Let's get simpler. The whole thing is the shape of a wedge. You draw a wedge, and of course, what kind of wedge? I don't know, but how about that? That is, what shape is that? Yeah. What? Some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4. Some kind of. It's 4 sides. Well, unless we go like this. There. Now it's a pentagon. Okay. Do you see the whole thing is a wedge? And then what do you start doing? Then you start carving things out, either adding things to the wedge or carving things out. So the most obvious thing to add to it is this ginkgo leaf or giraffe ear or D. So now we're getting closer. And then down here at the bottom, oh, wait a minute, listen to my language. I'm not going, oh my God, I made mistakes. No. I'm going, oh, wait, more information. This just in, like the old-fashioned news thing. Ooh, this just in. This edge of the wedge is lowered. You see that? It comes out of this curve, and then you just keep adding and adding and adding, or refining. Does that make sense? All right, pick up your sketch pad. We're not going to draw that garbage bag, but you lucky people, you're going to draw me. And forgive me, as I usually say, with my clothes on. Joke, artist joke. Yeah, because you never do know with those artist people. All right, I don't want you to draw yet, I just want you to talk. Kind of a trick question. Kind of. Think giraffe head, wedge. What are the largest shapes you see? Triangle down here. Half my body is a triangle. What is the top? Or there's another name for it.
Triangle.
Okay, but don't name this triangle. How about diamond?
Oh. Yeah.
Elbow to elbow to neck to groin. Diamond. Do you see that? Oh, yeah. Okay, now you're cooking. Biggest shapes first. Okay, what are the biggest shapes you see now? I am a star, but that's not what I'm asking. Okay, what some biggest shapes? Yeah, an X, that'll do. What else? Or a Y, yep. Or again, two triangles. So you can draw a line from here to here to help you. It's like, oh, you mean we could draw lines through space? Yep. Now that we got that out, oh, well, why didn't you say so? Well, we finally got there, okay? So you can draw big shapes. Okay, now, this time, I want you to draw me, I've never done this before, so this will be a fun experiment. I want you to draw me as geometric shapes. Let me think. Let's start with, you get no more than 4. You can use 4. Now, geometric shape is a curve, is a circle or an oval, triangle, rectangle, trapezoid, simple shapes. Okay, you ready?
Can you use the same one over and over?
Yes, of course. But you're going to draw my entire physique, and I'm sorry for those of you who can't see you just guess where my foot goes down there. It goes all the way to the floor. Okay, 4 shapes. No more than 4, but with those 4, you have encompassed my entire physique. And we're not all seeing the same thing, of course. Poor Nancy, she's getting just extreme foreshortening here behind me. She can't even see my leg that's up on the table. So everybody's seeing something different. No. All right. Gotta be in shape to do this. All right, show. Let's see. Show. Ooh. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's right. All right, I'm going to go the other way. So, again, not the same shape, but new drawing. I'm getting a Charlie horse in my hip. This is more dramatic. Okay, here we go. Good. Exactly. Thanks, Marcia. You keep me straight. Okay, I'm gonna head will be pointing that way. I'll give you one more. 5 shapes. You have 60 seconds. How long should it take you to do 5 geometric shapes? With those 5 shapes, there should not be any major pieces of my anatomy missing. You can't chop off legs or arms or head or torso. Okay, 20 more seconds. Oh, wait, you're all done. 10 seconds. All right, let me ask, did anybody draw a line from this hand to that toe? Was that part of your shape? Okay, well, rethink that, because that, for most of you in the room, I know what I look like, that is far and away the largest shape that I have just inscribed for you. It's a great big backwards letter D. If you'd drawn that first, you'd have half my body, half of my physique done with one curve. All right, so are you getting that now? We're going to do this again till you begin to get it. Let me see what you did. Good? Good. Better? Oh, yeah, very good. Try to, now I want shapes, not lines,
Okay.
not stick figure lines, but that's a good start. Oh, good. Yeah, let's do it again. Are light bulbs coming on? I think I hear them. Let me try to figure out what crazy thing to do next. Hang on. All right, now don't draw, but if I'm doing this, what am I? Exactly. I am uptight. I'm the guard at Buckingham Palace, I usually say. I'm a capital I. I'm an exclamation point with the dot taken off the bottom and put at the top. That's a pretty good way to draw. I'm a carrot. Exactly. So pretty boring, right? So we don't want to do that. Okay, just one more. I think this will be our last one. Again, the objective here, now you can see all the way to the floor. The objective here is see the what? The big shapes. The big shapes. Okay, go. Halfway done. Ten more seconds. I'll give you an extra 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1, done. All right, are you getting better? Are you getting better at the concept? Whether you're drawing, feel free to say, if you'd have given me more time, I could have done a bang-up job.
Concept.
Right, concept, that's exactly right. What I want you to be seeing, like this is, sorry, I'm not saying Cindy did the best job, but she's right here and I see it. This is the kind of thing I'm after. The largest shape that you're seeing is never the top and the bottom of my forearm or my upper arm or probably even the top and bottom of my leg. That's way too small. That's a secondary level down. After you've got the big shapes, then you can start doing things like even the sides of my torso and so on and so forth. Is that making sense? Big shapes first. Large, simple, and straight lines, which is what you've been doing as opposed to curvy stuff. Okay? How many of you know I get pretty complicated? That's right. Oh yeah. In a geometric term, that's why I said you can use a sphere or an arc, yeah, but not a real organic shape. Yeah, exactly. You're correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Make that clarification. All right. Let me see if we finished exercise number 6. I think we did. All right. Now, this gets a little complicated. I should have numbered my exercises the same as my habits, right? But we'll muddle through. Now we're down to habit number 6. Be conscious of the invisible picture plane or plane of vision. This comes straight out of the How to Draw Perspective book. The big challenge when working from life is translating a 3D reality onto a two-dimensional surface. The plane of vision, or invisible picture plane, same thing, is an imaginary flat plane that is always perpendicular to your line of vision or your line of sight. Now, you just figured out what are you doing with that little piece of plastic in front of you? You just got the answer. And I just realized that I left all of my little felt tip markers at home. Okay, so we're going to do this from imagination. It doesn't hurt too much. Pick up a pencil or a pen or something. I don't want you to write on these, but I want you to pretend you're writing on it. Fair enough? This really doesn't hurt us too much. It would have been a little bit fun to have the markers. Here's what I want you, you're going to close one eye and hold it kind of close to your face. And I want you to draw like let's say this corner of the room. I'll stand over here. Well, I'll put a box over here. Tell you what, I don't even have to stand there. That must be a tip jar.
Dan, what is it? It's permanent.
Yeah, no, don't use permanent because I'll be using all these things again. There, you can draw as much or little of that as you want. Fair enough? Here's what I want you to do. Close one eye and take a minute and carefully trace those objects. Okay, take enough so that the feel sinks in. What it feels like to look through a flat plane. Okay, keep going just for a minute. I just want you to feel it. I want you to see it, to sense it. Some of you are more introspective and philosophical at times during this class. I'm driving you crazy because you're rolling your eyes and saying, this is stupid. I knew this since I was 9 years old. Others of you are saying, I never thought of anything like this in my life. So be patient. There's a wide range. All right, now stop drawing if you will for a minute, but keep the plastic in front of you, looking at the corner, and put your hand on the plastic like this. Just rub, just be conscious, conscious, conscious. Now, put it down, look at me for a minute. Here is a key principle about this. You're all doing it right. Would this, however, be correct or the same? Not at all. Do you understand? The invisible picture plane is always perfectly perpendicular to your line of sight. Wherever your eyeballs are pointing at, if your eyeballs are pointed this way, then your plane of vision is always this way. Listen to me, and I really let this sink in. Never like this or like this. Never, never, never. All right, now put this down. And I want you to do, I know this is silly, but I want you to get this. You'll never forget it. I want you to be Marcel Marceau, the man in a glass box. And I want you to take your hands and I want you to put them on the glass plane. Can you do that? Now, okay, put your hands down for a second. Can you do this? The answer is no. It's not multiplane, it's one. It is singular. One plane. Okay, back to Marcel Marceau again. I know this is silly. Bear with me. It's a mnemonic device, learning device. All right, now put your hands down and look straight ahead. Can you now see or perceive? Can you be conscious of the plane of vision? Can you see? There it is. It's right there in front of you. It's not tilting this way, this way, this way, or this way. It's flat. It's always flat, whichever way your eyes are pointing. And it's always one plane. It's not multiplanar. All right? Are you aware of that? Somehow, who knows how, who knows why. By the way, all of this stuff that I'm talking as though, like, everybody knows this. Well, somehow all artists do know this. But there was a time in Western civilization when human beings most certainly did not know this. There was no concept of the plane of vision. And it was probably the Greeks, them old Greeks. It was probably the Greeks who first began to establish. Listen to me, without this, you have no linear perspective. You with me? Now, if you're working from a photograph, no problem at all, because the camera has already done all of this work for you. But if you're an artist always working from a photograph, you're not hardly all that great of an artist. Sorry, that was rude. But let's raise the bar. You're here this weekend to get your bar raised. Real artists don't work always from photographs. Plenty of times I do, but plenty of times I don't too. Okay, so your goal is to get away, but the photograph does all this for you. When you hold there's the plane of vision right there in front of you. You with me?
Yes.
Okay, so without this, there is no linear perspective. I learned this the hard way. Several years ago, I was teaching a drawing class, and it was a real small group, and I said to the people in my class, I said, now look at the ceiling, where the ceiling meets the wall. Hold your brush, it was a painting class, hold your brush up again so you get that angle. We talked earlier about what's the bottom of the triangle, what angle is it? Well, this is one way to do that. So here's what they were sitting in front of me, and it was one of those aha moments for me. They went like this. They held their brush in three-dimensional space parallel to that intersection between the wall. Does that make sense? And I went, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. So that was the genesis of this. Oh, wait a minute. You have to be aware of the plane of vision. See, I was intuitively, I've been since childhood, I've been keenly aware of, like, this is what we're drawing. And when you hold your pencil or a brush up against that thing, it's against the plane of vision. It never tilts this way, this way, or this way. You don't break Marcel's glass box. You understand? It's always right there, and that's what you slap your brush or pencil up against. Make sense? So when you're going to draw from life, when you're going to draw something, the object you're looking at is three-dimensional, and here you're going to try to reduce it to two dimensions. Well, step number one, be aware, first of all, of this plane. Does that make sense? All right. I think we're flying right along. If we have time for questions at the end, we can come back and revisit some of these things if we need to. Oh, exercise number 8. This is a good one. I tipped over into it and didn't realize I was getting ahead of myself. Look at this page. We're on the exercise page 2. I've given you 2, and they've already come up. Brenda, right? Brenda? Right. Brenda already mentioned this clock face analogy. I've drawn it here for those of you who've never heard of it before. But listen, do you understand now? The clock face analogy doesn't work at all if you don't have a concept of the invisible picture plane, because that clock is on the picture plane. It's not a clock like this. It's a clock there. Likewise, as I just said, holding a brush or a pencil, this is a great way to get angles. Holding it, but you don't hold it, you don't break that plane, Marcel. It's always right smack up against that invisible plane. Does that make sense? Then you can begin to compare angles. And that's really, we're going to leave that, I think. Yep, let's go on. We can come back to these if we want. We have an hour and 20 minutes left. I think we're doing okay. Back to my outline. I have here corollary to habit number 6. How do they say it in Canada? Corollary. Corollary, that's right. To number 6. If your brain allows you to learn linear perspective, do it. If not, and you're over 30, forget it. Now, I say that because I have tried to teach linear perspective literally for decades. And I have described it, acted it out so brilliantly you can't even imagine. Of course. And here's how many light bulbs in all those decades of teaching hundreds of students. Here's how many light bulbs I've seen come on. None. Now, if I was teaching young people, that would have more time. If it was young people, that would be different. And that's why I say if you're over 30, if you're under 30, you suck it up, give it the old college, work hard, because there is an extreme advantage in understanding linear perspective. And by understanding, I don't mean like you can kind of say, oh yeah, you know that thing that you've all seen with a railroad track, you know, here's the railroad track, and then the telephone lines, and then the fence, and they all that stuff. That's not what I mean by get it. You can reproduce this. But if you don't get linear perspective, and I mean really savvy it in your gut, it's like, no, I got this. I got this so good I can laugh at it. Okay? Which I do, by the way. And it's a good thing, because if I see my artwork or not, I draw perspective, buildings, architecture, way more than anything else. So my paintings are chock full of linear perspective, and every time it is like, whew, I'm glad I understand this stuff. Doesn't mean I still can't screw up. Believe me, I can't. But, and some people's brains, I'm convinced, just gravitate this way. The people probably who did really well in 10th grade geometry, you probably are more likely to get linear perspective. But if you don't get it, then here's what I'm saying after all those years is then don't waste any more time. Once you've given it a solid try, read a book, watch a YouTube or 10, once you've get it, and if you don't get it, learn to compensate. And I just gave you the two number one ways, the main ways to compensate, and that is by doing the clock face or the pencil or brush against the plane of vision. Does that make sense? Okay? Now, habit number 7. Oh, this is fun. People who are good drawers habitually, they focus on both the dark and, the emphasis there is on the word and light zones of the subject. So let me explain that a little bit. When drawing, all of us, if we're not been pushed in some way, our eyes naturally focus on dark shapes and edges of dark shapes. I call this the coloring book syndrome. Most of us grew up with coloring books. Hard, black, dark outline, and we color in the lines. Okay? I remember it as an art major in college. All the professors, railed against. I think that was a little bit silly. I was a really good colorer in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, or whatever grade it was, following my big sister, trying to keep up with my big sister. And maybe it did hurt me, but it didn't. But the coloring book syndrome is the edges. There's little Johnny, and here's his ball, and here's the tree upside one side of the trunk, down the other side, real close to the SOS stuff we were doing a while ago. Left to our own devices, that's what we see. Now, I will tell you where this came from, where this reality came from, was my own experience. And I'll tell you real quickly how I discovered it. I do paintings, usually fairly large, often plein air. I'm out on the city street or wherever, and I'm painting, and my first layer of drawing is coloring book drawing. Either dark pencil or dark paint on my brushes. I paint with 2 hands, by the way, and I'm drawing like all of y'all. I'm drawing like little Susie did in 4th grade. I'm drawing the dark edges of dark shapes. And then, but here's a very distinct step in my painting process. After the dark is done, now it's time for light stuff. So I dip my brushes in white acrylic paint, and now I'm going to add white or light to my canvas. Make sense? So now my head goes over here, and instead of looking for dark stuff, what am I looking for? Light stuff. And it's amazing. I amaze myself, especially early on in this journey. I look and go, oh, wow! And nothing has changed. I'm still looking at the same street, but buses, cars, pedestrians, motorbikes, whatever, buildings and trees. Nothing has changed. The only thing has changed, I've got white paint on my brushes, and I go, wow, I didn't even see that before. And then I start painting in white. So that's how I discovered this. And I went, oh my goodness, what a great advantage to being able to draw well. So I've done here on the last page, the second page, this lucky you, picture of me. I wonder why. I'm really stuck on me, aren't I? With my clothes on. Picture of me. And there's the halftone photograph. Next one is what we normally tend to focus on. That is what you would normally draw if you're a normal person. And then the third one, where it's all black, it's a little bit hard to do that, but I've tried to show the light areas in the picture of me. Does that make sense? Now, before we go any further, notice what is light in the third picture, the black and white, and then go back to my original black and white photograph. And can you see Now, the light areas, no, I blacked in the whole background because I didn't want you to focus on that. Does that make sense? But now can you see, like for instance, look at the little, it's shaped like, the light on my left cheek, shaped like some kind of bird, a dove ascending, lark ascending, thank you, Ray Fawn Williams, on my left cheek. And then can you go back to the photograph and go, oh yeah, I can kind of see that now. That's the kind of register I'd like you to make. Oh yeah, now I can see that, all right? So that's a really good trick for learning how to draw well. Don't just do coloring book, dark edges of dark shapes. Don't forget to pay attention to the light shapes, and you'll be instantly a better drawer just by doing that. Cool, huh? And then the third one where I've done pink and purple, I've just tried to cram the two together. I hope that makes sense to you. We are going to draw here in a little while, by the way. That's why I'm in a hurry to get through all this. But I hope I'm changing your life in the meantime. Okay. Number 8. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is one of those, I can make you a better drawer in 10 seconds. Really, significantly better. I would guess most of you, 40 to 50% better drawer. That's huge in 10 seconds. The only problem is you won't like it unless you've taken some really good art classes before, which you may have. Okay? Let me describe it. It's written here, and I'll just read some of it and then expound on it. Most of us learned to write letters when we were 5 to 7 years old. It was all about control. When you hold your writing instrument in that manner, you tap into decades. This right here, you tap into decades of control. The part of your brain, so I'm cramming a whole lot into these sentences, the part of your brain that controls your fingers that controls your arm is a much better artist than the part of your brain that controls your fingers. Okay, let me act that out for you and explain that. When I was in college, my professors, slapped our hands and said, no, not literally, but figuratively. They said, no, don't do that, hold it like this. Okay, that feels weird, it feels weird. But they never explained why, so I'm going to go one better and explain why. I've already done it. When you hold, okay, when I'm drawing in this manner, you tell me what part of my anatomy is moving. My fingers, okay? And those, you understand, those are my control freak fingers. Those are my little first grade Danny Nelson. Trying to create the letter, all right? So, and we succeeded, most of us, didn't we? Well, now we got all sloppy now, but at least that's what that grip does. On the other hand, this is what I call side saddle. Now, for what it's worth, and I've actually drawn it in the little box there, this is good enough, that grip, but if you want it just a little bit more stable, just tuck it between your pinky and your ring finger. So the idea is I've eliminated my digits. My fingers are no longer, let your fingers do the walking. My fingers are not walking. Now when I draw, what part of my anatomy is moving? My entire arm, okay? And I stand by this. I've been challenged on this, thought about it, rethunk it, and no, I think this is correct. The part of your brain that controls your arm is a better artist than the part of your brain that controls your fingers. That's real obvious. Why? Because when you do your fingers, you've tapped into your control freak little kid, you in first, second, third grade, gutting it out, grunting, trying to learn to control this crazy thing called your hand and a pen or a pencil. Got it? And that's exactly what you're doing when you hold it that way. Just for what it's worth, it was just last week. I look at stuff on YouTube fairly occasionally. I'm very active broadcasting on YouTube. And there was this young man who had way more followers than I had, so of course I hate him. And and he had tens of thousands of people watching each of his videos, so of course I hate him. I hope I'm being facetious. But he had done a big, beautiful, predictable, photorealistic painting of a beautiful sunset and a mountain and a lake and a trees and a bear and a grass and a bush. And he did the entire painting. I don't think he ever used a brush even this big. It was 30 by 40 inches. He did the entire painting. He was going like this. This is what I call tongue painting. That's not the bad. That's not the horrific part of the story. He's only maybe 30, probably not. He had a what do you call it? Carpal tunnel syndrome brace on his arm. It literally broke my heart. I wish I could, he probably wouldn't listen to me, but he's painting terribly. And by the way, there's tons of that on YouTube. I rant. This is a rant, you guys know all the time that I rant about real painting is not photorealistic painting. That's fun. Everybody should do one photorealistic painting. By the way, this is not a painting class or a drawing. Everybody should do one so you can show your friends that you can do it. Cheat like crazy. Grid, project, trace, whatever you want to do. Everybody should do one so your friends will settle down. And then you move from that on to real painting. All right. Now, holding a brush or a pencil in that manner, there's something that must go along with that at the same time. And we talked about this very briefly earlier. Oh, I'll use my small one. And that is this grip. So for the rest of this class, I do not, unless you're doing shading. You know what shading means? Shading is, that's legal. Can you see what I'm doing? This is perfectly fine. But when you're drawing, no. I want you to hold your pencil side saddle. Now, again, I just made you a better 30, 40, 50% better drawer, which is outrageous in 10 seconds. The problem is some of you are going to say, it feels weird. Ask me if I've heard that before. Of course it feels weird if you're not used to it. Of course. I mean, whatever, you name it. Everything feels weird the first time you do it. But this has to go in conjunction with, this does not work. This plane pointed at the ceiling, it's like, well, that's just weird. You're right, that is weird. Now it works. Conversely, this grip does not work with the plane pointed. Do you understand? This works, this does not. This works, this does not. All right, so it's two things. So for the rest of the evening, you're going to do all your drawing this way. I do solemnly swear, so help me God. Amen. Thank you. Okay? You're paying to be here, so you get an A+, whether you do what I say or not. But I'm going to respectfully ask if you want to get benefit then. Now, does anybody here, by the way, you already draw like that? You already draw a side saddle? Okay, good. You're way ahead of the curve. And again, it's no surprise that the Atelier gang, the uber serious, dark, uber serious art people, they all, in fact, they sharpen their pencil, so the lead's sticking way out there. That's real artsy. If you want to be really artsy, do your pencil that way. Okay, good luck with that. All right, now, did I have an exercise with that? Yes. Oh, it does. Thank you. That means I'm about to lose my sound, and I discovered a little while ago that all my batteries are going dead, so I'm just going to unplug this. Thank you so much.